Hey guys, Jason here. I'm going to be walking you through one of my favorite things to do inside of InDesign. Honestly, anything that saves me time is one of my favorite things to do in InDesign. Really, I love to be efficient and find that certain things inside InDesign really speed up my process and make things go a lot faster. So, what I'm going to show you today is what are known as paragraph styles, and then I'll make another video for you that talks about character styles. Once you understand one, you'll understand the other, and they're pretty simple to grasp onto. So this is one of those things that I like to set up at the very beginning of my document. So if you notice on this, I have one single page. I usually will do something like this, even if I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to live and breathe inside the choices that I make. I like to set up something so that when I do start to fine tune things and make more permanent choices, I can stylize them inside these paragraph styles and just make changes instead of having to go through and do all the hard work, all the legwork of getting things to fit and look proper just to go back and have to apply the style at the end. It makes more sense to go through and do it up front. So right now I have pretty close to default type selected here inside this paragraph. I've got a text frame selected, and I'm working with Times New Roman 12 points over 12 points of leading. So 12 point size, 12 points leading, and we're just using the regular Times New Roman. The thing with this is it's pretty default, pretty stock. 12 point text is really not what you want to be formatting your body text in. You want to try and go down to about a 10. Certain typefaces will allow for 11, but 10 to 8 are kind of the sweet spot that I like to start working from. So with that, I've got the paragraph style open already, paragraph style panel, sorry, and all basic paragraphs. So everything that you start and you don't go through and do any sort of stylized formatting, you're kind of just doing one-offs, kind of lives inside this basic paragraph, okay? It kind of just overrides everything. If you need to just send something back to default, it really kind of does that. But I want to go through and create a new style. And this one, I'm going to double click where it says paragraph style 1, and that will bring me into this pretty daunting looking menu, okay? But it's really not bad. I'm going to name this one body text, okay? Because this is, let me put a space in there. There we go. This is the text that I'm going to use for my body copy. Anything that's paragraph copy like that, we call it body copy. We'll learn what these couple things mean at the end of this video. But some basic character formats, I'm going to go through and say, let's use, let's use Caslon. Nope, not Casey. I don't even know what typeface that's. Here we go. Alrighty. So let's drop down to 8 points. And I have the text already selected, okay? I'm going to use 12 points of leading just because I want to see what this lands at. I may not like it. And then kerning, tracking, I could adjust space between words, space between letters, all sorts of stuff. I really don't want to do that right now because I don't want to mess with it too much. If you check this preview button, by the way, you can see the changes that you're making in real time. I know people like that. If I want to squish the text, scale the text vertically, horizontally, skew it, do all sorts of things here, okay? I'm going to go through here and do, so I'll tell you what each one of these things are. So paragraph rules, you have rule above and then rule below. These are lines that happen before and after a paragraph break. So when you hit return, a paragraph is started. And that will draw a line before or after, depending on what you choose. Paragraph borders, this will go through and put borders around the paragraphs. Paragraph shading, you can go through and put lines of shading behind it. There's just all sorts of things you can do here, okay? Hyphenation, you can adjust your hyphenation here. Words with at least 5 letters, this is kind of default. I wouldn't hyphenate anything below that. Honestly, I kind of bump this up to 6 or 7 a lot of times. And then anything after or before, hyphen limit, how many hyphens I can have in a row. I usually bump that down to 2. And then let's go to justification. We're good. We'll leave that alone. Character color. Say I wanted all this text to be blue. It's going to change it to blue. And let's just click OK. Let's see what this looks like. Actually, let's put it back to black here. You guys can see that change if you wanted to later, but I'm going to do that. So now any paragraph that I make, if I come in here and select body text and I drag a text box and I type, that will automatically style with that body text, okay? But check this out. Let's say I go in and I double click body text and I want to change all the body text to blue. It will automatically do that for me across multiple pages, guys. So if I have a 5, 10, 100 page document and I change my text color, my client comes back and says, I don't really like black, I want to use a gray. Okay, we can do that. We can go in here, we can choose a gray, or we can choose a pink, or we can choose whatever. I don't have any extra swatches made here, so I'm just going to choose black. But I can make all those adjustments. My client comes back and says, I don't like Caslon. Please don't use that anymore. Please use Times New Roman. I can go type Times, and it will automatically swap over to Times. And it's not a huge change between that, but you can see this gets a little bolder. I'm going to put it back to Caslon. Keeps wanting me to use Casey. I don't know what Casey is. All right. Another fun fact is that you can go through and you can make new paragraph styles. So I have no paragraph selected, okay? I can make new paragraph styles based off of other paragraph styles. So let's do body text white. Let's say I wanted to type over top of an image, or I wanted to put it inside of a colorful box or something like that, and I wanted the text to be white. I can base this off of body text and then come down here and choose character color and change it to white. And now when I type with that, let's create a box. You guys saw this in one of the previous videos where we can take that box and let's make it, I don't know, let's make it a dark maroon. And let's go to type and let's say we'll fill with some placeholder text. There we go. Oh, sorry. Let's just make the whole page, top of the page black. How about that? That way this is easy for you guys to see how this change happens. So I'm just going to darken the whole top of the page. Right? So now my text is white. So if I change this name, I'm going to do this to black. So I know now this is the original. Okay. This is the original. A lot of times I'll do this too. I'll put like OG at the end of it so that I know this is what the style is it's pulling from it. Oops, I just signed that one back. So if you accidentally have a text box selected, you can go back here and you can punch it back to the one you had. Let's say I wanted to change the typeface altogether, and let's go up 1 point size. So if I double click inside this, go to basic character formats, and I go to 9, you can see that it now changed both the black version and the white version, right? So if I bump back down to 8, that will change. If I bump the black text to blue, that's not going to matter because this one is only pulling the style of white. Everything else is what can be changed. So that's kind of fun. So yeah, that's the basics of paragraph styles. You go through and you really don't have to go through and select a ton of text afterwards. You just say, this is kind of what I want things to look like. And even if it's not exact, your client comes back and says, change it to a different typeface. You don't have to go through and select 100 text boxes. You can go through and just select your paragraph style, make your change, and it will automatically make those updates on its own. Just remember that as it makes those updates on its own, if you're changing things like point size, you might end up with some formatting where you lose text like this, right? You guys can see this is called overflow text. That means I have some hidden text inside this text box that's not showing up. So if you change the point size, you're definitely going to have some things like that happen. So, all right. Sorry for the long video, guys, but this is a pretty cool feature, and hopefully you guys like it.